All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Open Live Q&A. My name is Miss McGolgan. Oh my God, I forgot to turn on my lights. So hold on a second. Let me go back and put that back on. Huh. All right, there we go. That is much a little better. I don't have my multi-stream. I cannot find my remote for my thing. So we're going to leave that off for this live stream. But either way, guys, thank you so much for joining in. This is Open Live Q&A, week number 147. And one thing I want to talk to you guys about tonight is getting rid of your fear in math. And then, as always, ladies and gentlemen, if you do have any questions that you'd like for me to answer, you guys can also go to brianmclogan.com/Q&A, and then I'll answer your questions just like I do every single Sunday night at 9 p.m. or like I have done for at least the last 147 weeks. So, it has been a lot. And then also don't remember, if I'm not able to get your questions, which is definitely possible, I also can answer questions, or we have other students that, where is it? Oh no, oh, there it is. You can also go ahead and join the Discord server where you guys can ask questions and get your questions answered by other students just like you. I do have a couple other things before I get into the math and overcoming your fear in math. A couple of things I did want to talk to you guys about that I have coming up. I know exams for a lot of you are coming up, so I'm gonna be doing that. And then so I have some things for, at least for pre-calculus students, that I have designed that I'm going to be doing. And then in addition to that, I have where was it? I'm sorry, I'm looking for something. And then also we have some good merch stuff that I'm looking forward to kind of revealing with you guys as well. So hopefully all that stuff will be coming up here really, really soon, within the next stream or two, before we get on to that. And then, that's so weird. All right, let me look for something. All right, so we'll go ahead and put into those. Why did my comments not showing up? There we go. All right. Well, hey, Tragic Time and Gabe, good to have you on. Curtis George and Curious Number, good to have you on. David and Dishika, good to have you guys on. Thank you so much for joining in tonight. Let me go and see. Answer some of these questions I'm looking for something. I'm sitting here real quiet. Trying to do derivatives half asleep. I cannot focus. I can imagine just doing. I was actually so I substituted actually at a school this last Friday, and I saw students like work. I was in like a I think it was an anatomy I was in, and the student was doing some algebra 2, so I was walking around helping them out with their algebra 2, and she had like, I don't know, like 30 problems or something like doing. It was like all the same thing. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe teachers giving like that much like repetitive, like, I mean, not so much it was repetitive, because I gave my students a lot of repetitive work as well, but it was it yeah, I don't know. It was, I don't know. Same kind of thing. Like, it just made me want to like fall asleep doing all the work. Valence, thank you so much for videos. We're waiting for college. Well, awesome. Well, good to have you on, and so happy to be able to help you out. Let me go and find. I got to feel to find this because I had this in there, and I guess I can do it another time, but that's fine. I was just want to see if I could find this, and it's not showing me to do that. There we go. There you go. All right. I was wondering where that is. Okay, cool. All right, so let's go and talk about the fear with math as I get into this, because I do have a couple questions. And again, guys, if you do have math questions, go to brianmcgoulding.com/Q&A. I'll get to it. Diana, you'll be interested to hear that there's probably a lot of people that are really good at math that join on these live streams. And so you are in a good place. But really, this live stream is like, obviously most students that are good at math or feel comfortable with math are not going to be fearing math, right? But the things that I'm going to talk about a lot in this kind of live stream is really basically going to be applicable to really anything in your life. And that's why a lot of times, that's one of the things I love about math, as well as like sports, is there's so many things that we can just like relate to in real life. So even if you're like, like, I'm actually a pretty good math student, I just like maybe, you know, want to hop on and watch your live stream, whatever else, like, trust me, you can get a lot of benefit out of some of the things that I want to overcome math. Because, one things that I found, from teaching math for so many years is students literally like fear math. They fear like walking the start of the school year, right? They fear fear when we talk about math, when they have like math on like they have like an A day, a B day. They fear when they have tests and quiz and exams coming up. And anything that's just like related or talking or doing about math sometimes can kind of like trigger them with a huge rush of like anxiety and stress and everything like that. And the fear is like real. But there's one thing I want you to take away from this. All right. And there's one thing that able anyone can do math. Absolutely correct. But it's not as easy as that, right? And we all know that. Because a lot of what people go through is really true, right? A lot of everybody's like circumstances and everything else, like it's it can be very difficult, right? Just to like think like, oh, everybody should be able to do math and so okay. But you can be successful in it. But here's the thing I want you to take about. Here's this quote that came to me that really I think rings true. And this is for fearing math, but this is really for anything, right? And what it is like everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of fear. And I think it was George Adair is the one who said that. And what I think is really important, about that is a lot of times for us to be able to achieve the things that we want, or maybe the things that, there's another question that I'm going to answer later that was kind of talking about like overcoming. It might not be like fear, but it was kind of like he didn't really want to do some of those things. Like that's some of the part that you got to like be able to push forward, right? And I think that I'm not saying that like being good at math or doing your math is going to give you everything you want, right? That's not the point that I'm trying to make here. But what I am trying to make is like a lot of the fear that you're kind of feeling, a lot of those feelings, um, or a lot of like even just in real life, like a lot of times when you have that anxiety and the stress, like that's good stuff. Like that's just your body telling you like you need to adapt, you need to change, right? And so a lot of times if we don't want to do that, it's not comfortable for us to, kind of get out of our comfort zone or to, press forward a little bit harder, work a little bit harder or anything else. But a lot of times for us to grow, right? That's exactly what we need to do, right? We need to be able to break out of our pot. If like you think about like a potted plant, like you got to be able to break out if you're going to grow. If you're going to stay within that same potted plant, you're only going to grow as big as you can grow, right? Within that potted plant. But if you can break through that clay pot, like you can grow as big as you need to, right? And that's kind of the thing that, comes up like with this idea of fear that students kind of like, they allow the fear to kind of like take over and they allow that to be like their barriers. Now, I get it. Students, don't want to make mistakes. They don't want to feel stupid in front of, other students. They don't want to feel stupid in front of their parents. They don't want to feel stupid in front of their teacher, right? They don't want to get bad grades, right? You got you don't want to have a bad GPA. You want to be able to go to college. You don't want to lose a scholarship, right? So sometimes this fear of like making mistakes or getting a low grade can be just kind of like overwhelming, right? But the thing that I want you to take away, like if you have all this feelings, you have all this stress and anxiety that's coming through with you. And what I want you to take from this is like, not to say that like, oh, it's all good stuff. Like just get over it. Right. Or just do it. No, I understand it. That's way too simplistic of an answer. But what I want to be able to do for you is like, when you do have these kind of like situations that are coming up, if it's in math or if it's in any other aspect of your life, and that a lot of this anxiety, this fear is really taking over. And what I want you to do is just kind of think small. Just think small, and then also I want you to think emotion. Okay. Because I think the worst thing you can absolutely possibly do is stay put and not do anything. Right. And guess what? That's the first thing you absolutely want to do. Right. Is just like, don't think about it. Don't pretend it never happened, and then don't do anything about it. And that's the exact opposite of what you need to do. If you need to overcome your fear, you need to just do anything but go forward, move forward, but take action, right? And again, like the classic example that I always come into, like a student like fails a test or quiz, right? And let's say they thought they were going to do really well. Now, what happens with a lot of students that's like really frustrated on that? Well, they'll take the piece of paper, they'll crumple it up and throw it in the trash can, right? It's like, hey, I failed. Right? And I don't want to look at that. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to like, pretend that it never happened. I'll just wait to hope my parents will never check the online portal and see the grade. Right. And obviously that's just a really bad class of action. One, you're not learning anything from your mistakes. right? Your grade's going to remain there, right? So you're not improving upon your grade. And then obviously your parents are probably going to figure it out and then get upset. And then there's going to be maybe some consequences there, right? On the contrary, what about it's like, all right, you get that. And you're like, all right, crap. That gives me a lot of anxiety, fear, like, oh no, am I going to fail this class? Am I not going to get a grade anymore? Like, I'm never going to learn math. I'm really frustrated. I'm really struggling. And it's like, all right, I'm going to stay after school today and get help, like from my teacher. I'm going to go over every single question with them, make sure I know what problems I got wrong, and I'm going to work on them. Then I'm going to go home for like the next week and I'm going to redo all those problems and fix my corrections, right? And then maybe my teacher will have an opportunity for me to improve upon my grade. Or maybe there's some other assignments like that I can improve upon my grade, but I'm going to keep on moving forward. Like it stinks. It really stinks to have this grade. I have to swallow, I have to accept it. I have to face it. Right. But I'm going to keep on moving forward. And you can just see like, who knows if that, who knows if maybe you do improve upon your grade or maybe like both of them, like the grade remains, nothing happens. But who do you think in like the long run is going to have a better opportunity for success, right? The student that just gave up and just said, oh, I'm done. I'm not going to try anymore. Or the student said like, no, I'm going to keep on moving forward. Right. And again, like, I'm not trying to make this sound that it is simplistic, or that, that the circumstances that everybody has to go through is, not serious or, impacting you. Like, I understand, like I'm realistic with all those measures. The main thing I just want you to take away from it is like, fear is okay, right? When you are getting these feelings of fear, like you got it, like the main thing you want to be able to push through them. And how do you push through them is starting small and moving forward. Okay. That's just the simplistic purpose of all that. And so if you can kind of take those and take that idea and adapt it and adjust it to your own kind of like circumstances, then I think that's, probably the best way I can kind of like describe that for everybody to kind of take like a little nugget away. Oh, my mouse was dead, so I had to change that. Okay. But I think the takeaway, because from being a math teacher, it's just so common that, people say, they have trouble being successful with math. And they always kind of want to blame math, blame their teacher, blame that they're not a good math teacher or a math student, right? Or blame math in general, or the textbook or their school or whatever may be the case, right? And while all those things could be like have some valid points to them, don't use it. Like, you take what you can do, take what you can take ownership of, and then do what you can do and do the best with that. And that's, if um and take that as far as it can go. And I think that's the best advice I can take with anybody from, having that fear of not being successful or not being good enough in math, and that stress and anxiety that comes with taking a test. Right. The face on, keep on moving forward. Just keep motion. I think that's the absolute best thing. When you have all that anxiety that is just like it feels like it's just attacking you, just keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. So hopefully, ladies and gentlemen, that was helpful. And again, I was talking before on math because obviously a lot of you are on math, but it's really that is something that is definitely applicable to anything in real life, right? And especially that quote from George Adair, like everything you ever wanted is on the other side of fear. Like that is, um, huh, that is, that is definitely something that I have used in my own real life to realize, like when I have some of those points where it just feels that, um, some of those points where it just feels like I can't handle like all the stress and anxiety and the fear. I don't want to do something that, I just realized like that's just my body, like trying to resist doing something new or doing something that that I'm not used to or I don't want to do. Right. And it's that, pushing forward, which is I know where I'm going to make my gains. So, 2 semesters probably right. 2 cam. All right, let's go and see any questions. And I got a couple questions for you guys as well. Or I got a couple questions that were submitted as well. So I'm taking college algebra test and my confusions are with quadratic completing square. Well, obviously go and submit some questions. What math do you recommend someone who's planning to pursue a master's? I have no idea. So I would definitely reach out to your counselor and maybe your your math teachers as well, like, and kind of get an idea of what you should do. But I mean, I have no idea. Um, ooh, awesome. I like this. I failed trigonometry, and thank you so much for submitting this too, Rex, because this is probably not something that most students want to have displayed, right? I failed trigonometry 2 times, failed calc 2, failed calc 3, retook them all, and until I passed. Yesterday, I got a 97 on differential equations exam. Keep pushing, y'all. I love it, Rex. Yes, and here's the thing, like, a lot of students just want to, like, if they fail, they just want to give up. They just want to say, all right, that is proof that I'm not good at math. That is proof that I can't do this. Right. And I think the main thing is, like, if you failed all this stuff, right, you're probably a little bit older, I'm assuming. And the thing is like, one, it's, there's no race to, like, learning math, right? You just kept on moving forward. Like, you gained a little bit more each and every time, and you kept on moving forward. Right. But I feel so many students, they get this, that fear for, like, math. And, like, I always tell students, I always laughed, like, when students would take, like, pre-calculus in, like, 10th grade, and, like, they'd be fearful of, like, failing and stuff like that. And I'm like, yo, like, I took this as in college, right? You're taking it as a sophomore. Like, you have plenty of time. If you're not successful in this course, like, take it next year. If you're not successful again, like, take it the next year, right? You have plenty of time. There's no race, right? And so kudos to you, Rex, for keep on going on. That's a really, really hard thing for a lot of people to be able to do. So I think you definitely need a pat on your back for that. Pat on your back for that. Yeah, I think our vocab for other things, that's good. Ethan says, hey, Mr. Glow, unfortunately, I had an awful first Calc 1 midterm in college. One of the worst scores I've ever had. So I've decided to go talk to my professor tomorrow and ask for suggestions. I think that's exactly what you need to do. And it sucks too, right? Getting a low grade is like, it just sucks. Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how any other way to spin it. Like, it just sucks. But, like, the best thing, well, like, what's the best thing you can do? Go and talk to your teacher. Exactly what you're doing. Be like, hey, I didn't do successful in this. Like, what are some things that I can do? Everything that I tell you guys, not everything, most of the stuff that I tell you guys about being successful is a lot of times, like, for me asking other people for advice, right? And them giving it to me as a student, right? And then I use that stuff as a student, as a teacher, right? And taught it to other students, right? There's no like mysteries or newer mysteries or new tips or tricks or hacks, right? That is not already out on the web as far as being successful in a math class. Okay. So, but, like, one thing I can say is that different teachers courses are going to have obviously their own kind of, like, uniqueness, right? To being successful in those, certain courses. So, definitely speak with your professor and see, like, hey, here's what I did, what else can I do to get better? And I think that's exactly what you need to be doing. Uh, Godzilla says, every time I take a test, I always make some type of silly mistake and lose points. How do I fix this? Yeah, you got to practice, got to go slow. And if you have time at the end, check your answers, but I'm right there with you. That was, like, my main crutch. I mean, I would almost never got A's because I was always making mistakes. Um, I feel like there's some disconnect with my prior knowledge, looking to find a path to fix that. Yeah, I mean, there could be. I mean, a lot of times if you had a class, like, a lot of times I think what happens is, or at least in my experience, a lot of times students will get a good grade in a class and they feel like they know that material, but in reality, they didn't really learn the material. They just did well in the class. So I'm not saying this is your circumstance at all, but I'm saying this is something that's very common with students that they feel like, oh, I got an A, or, hey, I got, like, they know the material. There's not always a correlation with your understanding and your grade, right? And that's why I always stayed, like, when students were, saying, hey, should I go into pre-calculus or I should go into calculus? I'm like, if you got, like, a C, I mean, it depends, like, a C or even a D. I mean, sometimes it's like, what did you learn, right? Maybe you got a D for, like, certain reasons, right? Depending on your teacher's, like, grading policy. Um, and but maybe you, like, actually really understood the material. You just didn't really put forth your effort to get a good grade. It's kind of like hit or miss. Sometimes I've had students that definitely got like lower grades than students that got A's, and the students that got the higher grades, they just didn't really know anything, but they were able to, but they played the system to get the better grade. So, um, again, not saying this is your situation or whatever else, but like that is like a very common theme that I have. And sometimes like there's things you feel like you learned or you feel like you did know, but then once it gets applied in later mathematics, you're like, oh crap, I forgot it all. Or, oh crap, I actually never did learn this stuff. Um, I definitely think taking pre-calculus is pretty important to taking calculus. I mean, obviously you can get by with like some crash course on like trig and doing the algebra, but like where students really makes where students, struggle with calculus is a lot of that algebra and a lot of the deeper, higher level thinking problems. And pre-calculus is like a great bridge from like a classic like algebra 2 class into calculus. And also you're going to get the trigonometry, which is going to be very helpful for in calculus. Um, Hey, Miss Hey, Kermit. Um, well, why do I do good in class but blow on tests or quizzes? You're not prepared enough. Like you gotta prepare more. So, again, going class example, like students like, how many times have you understood something in class, and go home to take the homework, and you're like, oh crap, I forgot everything. Right? That was me, like almost every single day. So the same thing. It's like, all right, I did my homework. Now I understand doing my homework, but then I go to take my test and I'm like, oh crap, I forgot everything, or like I can't do it. Like over prepare, like you got to study more you got to be more prepared for your tests and quizzes. You're just doing what you feel is necessary or what your teacher is asking. You might need to go above and beyond, do more questions, do more difficult problems to get really prepared for your understanding. I'm not saying that's going to fix it, but to me, that's what it kind of sounds like. Senior high school. Do you think it's too late to become a civil engineer? Absolutely not. You can decide to become a civil engineer whenever you want to in life. Just drop inside. Thanks so much, you cleared. Well, awesome. Suicide 17. Sounds cheesy, but it's never too late to be anything. Yes, it's absolutely true, guys. I mean, guys, think about it for me. Like I went to school to be a math teacher, right? After being a math teacher for 3 years, I decided to get my license as a realtor, right? I'm still a licensed realtor. And then I decided to make YouTube videos on YouTube full time. Like you can do whatever you want to do. A lot of people that watch my videos are ones that are going back to school, learning material, right? So you can make these changes. You can make these changes in life whenever you want to, right? And so, don't get discouraged if maybe it's now not the right time. But give it a shot. See if it works out for you, and if not, then maybe revisit later. Um, you don't owe me any apology, Justin, but I really do. Really am happy to see you back on though. But yeah, no, definitely cool. I'm here each and every week, and all you guys are able to free to pop in and out as you guys feel fit. Is it good to learn higher level maths than your grade to get ready? Yeah, I assume so. Guess it really kind of depends on just what you're doing for it. I'm feeling calculus with a 52 for Q1. My high school offers this course for me as a senior. I'm grateful because it essentially preparing me even if I fail this year. Oh, sorry, I'm just tired of the daylight saving, so it's like 10:30 right now for me. Um, as a senior, well, keep on putting in work. Like even if you fail it, and maybe you can take calculus like next year or like whatever. Like learn as much as you can. Like maybe I don't know. It's your senior year, and if like if you're just taking calculus to take calculus, um, I think I would want to like try to extract as much understanding and learning as I possibly can from there. But and obviously try to get a good grade, right? But I don't know what you're like if you're going where what you're doing next year. But I would just like learn as much as you can and try to like challenge yourself to retake it, right? And retake calculus like next year, right? And um, or like whatever opportunity you can later in life, and improve upon what the stuff that you learned, right? But also enjoy your senior year. Don't like overwhelm, don't overwhelm yourself. And I'm assuming you don't need the calculus credit But that could be a different scenario, right? If you needed to graduate, then my advice would be a little bit different for you. But yeah, take. You say you're grateful for it, so I'm assuming take as much of this opportunity as you possibly can and make the best out of it. Um, how do I really cope cope up my engineering lectures with literally poor foundations and zero recalling skills? These kinds of fear really eat it for myself. Yeah, I think like the one thing you mentioned is like a daily basis. Like I think you got to do the foundational skills like on a daily basis, right? And like unfortunately, it's just going to be one of those things that's going to come better through time, right? So the more often you're doing those skills, the more often you're putting, your work, the better and better you're going to get. And that's just the reality of things. So, you know, I get it. And those foundational skills, they're eat at you, but I think you just got to like figure out what you need to be practicing at and then get to work at them like consistently, constantly, daily. If I had the value sign go ahead and submit it. Well, you're going to probably use the doubling a formula and a triangle from in there, but go ahead and submit it to Brian Glogot. Go ahead and submit it on my link in the description and I'll be happy to take a look at it. No, not at all. Just a waste of time. You've been duped. Yes, I think the thing about math is the more math you know, the more you understand how much you don't know, and also how much more math is around in the world. And so, unfortunately, that's just kind of like the secret. Like, if you don't know much math, then you're probably you can like survive with knowing that you don't know much math. But the more math you do know, the more you're like, holy crap, the more how much math is out there and how much it's related in real life. And that just kind of goes, I think, hand in hand with there. Um, well, I wouldn't say 99% of it, but man, this is a great conversation. I could probably do another live stream. And it's actually not a bad live stream. Useless in real life. All right, but let me kind of give you my 2 seconds points on that. And really like all math does not have to be applicable to real life, right? I mean, there's so many things you're learning in school that is not directly applicable to real life. Okay. But yes, math is that foundational skill, right? So things build off each other. And now, if we're going to talk about everything in math, like I will throw out this disclaimer. I do not believe everything that we teach in mathematics needs to be currently taught in school. There's a lot of outdated stuff that, to your point, is not really going to be useful for 99% of the students taking the course. Okay. However, I think having a society that has a strong mathematical foundation is more beneficial than not. And also, the more have strong mathematical, the stronger mathematical um, foundation that we can provide to in a society with others, I think that's going to be helpful for us. People are like changing, as we talked about, like people going to, I mean, a realtor, a civil engineer, like it's beneficial to have like a lot of that. I think kind of like foundational knowledge. And again, like where's that foundation? Where does it like change from like foundation to like the application, or like for engineers and accountants and all that kind of stuff? Like there's definitely a large conversation that can be had there, but I would basically give you my point that 99% of the mathematics is how everything is built. So knowing that is going to be kind of important. However, I would agree with the way that we teach a lot of the stuff, memorizing these rules and all that kind of stuff is not really helping. Okay, well, adjacent are next to each other, so they share a side and a vertex. Complementary add up to 90. Supplementary add up to 180. Vertical are going to be, you know what? Vertical are directly across from each other, and linear pair are supplementary that make up a straight line. And actually, if you go to my geometry channel, which I actually have not even promoted at all, But if you actually go to my geometry channel, you can actually see I actually have a video on all of that stuff. There's like 5 videos I think I just posted that cover. Actually, wait, no, I didn't do all of them. Actually, more of them are coming up. Sorry, I only have complimentary, supplementary. So sorry, that's not going to be too much helpful. I do have more videos that I'm going to be coming up on there, but I'll talk about those other channels, guys, later. Nope, just teaching on YouTube. Oh God, all right, I got to get caught up because, it's getting late. I made a mistake on taking an easy class in high school without taking any AP counters. I won't say you made a mistake. I find myself now in college as a math major, studying calc and from the ground up. I didn't let myself fail. Yeah, I wouldn't say you made a mistake. I mean, you got to go at your same pace. You can't push yourself. A lot of students actually do make the mistake of pushing themselves too hard. So that was the path that you took. That's fine. Go with it and just move on from here, right? Maybe it was the right path, maybe it wasn't. Like, I don't know, right? I wouldn't say it was a mistake. That was just the path that you chose, and leave it at that, and then move forward. Nope, not at all. Always help me. You're well, so happy to help you out. It can be. I think geometry is one of those classes where I don't have a problem with students take it over the summer, just because it is. If you are in the classic algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2, a lot of times the geometry can be taken just because it is a little separate. And if you do miss some things, it's not going to be a huge detriment to you for the next year. Do you have any pre-calc books? No, I mean, I just use anything standard, like the classic. That's usually what I look at. Yes, especially if you're taking calculus. Yeah, it's usually a lot of times how my calculus classes or pre-calculus looks as well. Hey, Nishat. It's been a while. Yes, it has. I'm a grade 9 student at Canada, and your algebra tutorials all in the recent have helped me great marks. Well, awesome. So happy to help you out and good to have you back on. All right, I have a final on algebra and linear equations in business math. Do you think memorizing the formulas and practicing a lot is key, or just studying till death? Because I have a lot of formulas included. Yeah, I mean, when you have those formulas and you're not giving them, that kind of stinks, because I gave my students the formula, so I can't really relate to you on that. I think, you're going to have to I don't think you're going to have to know the formulas. I don't know a better way to, I don't think it's the best use of your time or of your energy. Because obviously you're always going to have formulas, next to you and available to you. But yeah, it's just kind of one of those annoying things that you're just going to have to overcome. So study and practice them. I will say the best way that I've advised my students, when there are formulas that I'm like, hey, you're not getting this, you need to know it. For instance, like quadratic formula in calculus, I'm not going to provide that to you. You should know it, right? The best way, though, that I do tell students, rather than trying to memorize something like flashcards, just do practice problems with it. The more times you're writing it and actually doing problems with it, the easier and faster and better it is for you to to memorize it. F51, you're instrumental to help me. Well, awesome, RG. So happy we'll help you out. And I have friends who are also freshmen already taking pre-calc. Wow, freshmen and pre-calc. How is that possible? I don't know. They definitely got to jump somewhere. But I don't really care. I really don't. I don't think there is anything benefit of you taking pre-calculus as a freshman, as a sophomore. I just don't feel I have a real big problem with this idea that the faster and sooner you can take math, the better off you are. And I'm just telling you as a general statement from teaching math, the students that struggled the most were more typically the younger students that were in the class. They had the less experience. And it's not so much that they weren't good students, it was that they went through the math so fast, or they learned it at a more kind of surface level understanding. They'd never had time for them to fully develop their understanding of the material. And yeah, I mean, it's a matter of, again, there's obviously always great, strong math students, right? That are really young and stuff like that. But this is, but yeah, I don't feel like that is a thing that you need to be concerned about. Make sure you're make sure you're moving through the courses that feels right for you, and don't worry about anybody else. All right, I am going to get into some math questions. There's actually only 2, and I'll maybe try to get into maybe some of you guys have on there. I absolutely love bread. But I will. I just have these two kind of questions. This is actually one from like a student that I wanted just to kind of give them a quick address, and then I'll kind of do this math question, and then yeah, we'll kind of go through any other questions you guys pop in on the chat. But I don't know. Let me just see. I skipped. Can I skip algebra 2 and take calculus and take algebra 2 in the summer? I would not do that. I think you're definitely going to want. You're definitely gonna need algebra 2, a strong foundation in algebra 2 and pre-calculus before you're taking calculus. Yeah, so I definitely do that. What time science course you take? I have no idea. Okay, so I'm so anxious for completing the square exam on Wednesday. Ooh, I'm trying to study, but my brain is drilling it in. It's confusing since the method seems to change depending on the problem. Yes, I mean, it can. But yeah, just practice, practice, practice. All right, let's go into this. All the best. So this student sent me a message. This is kind of more of a personal message. Hopefully they watch the replay because I am spending some time. But their question is like very similar to what you guys have always asked. Like, should I drop out of the class? The teacher seems like the class is being difficult. The professors just kind of seem like they're not really invested in like helping him learn. And he's kind of only at this school because he wants to get because he has a scholarship there. And reading through it, which I did. And I think on answering a question like this, it really just kind of depends on, why are you going to the school? Why are you going to the degree that you want? Right. And like, I understand why you're going to the school because you got a scholarship. Right. And maybe some students maybe this might be applicable for others of you that kind of have a similar situation. Right. You're told to go to college, or you're given money to go to college, i.e. a scholarship. And you kind of feel like that's like the right path. That's the path for you. Right. Um, but then once you get there, you realize that, this doesn't feel right. I don't think this is what I really want to do with my life. Or I don't think this is the right school for me. Right. And what I want you to do, is just follow, it sucks because it's so much easier to say than I know to like do and act upon. But, follow your like intuition, follow your gut on that. And reading through his, like, I could just kind of read, like, he wasn't happy at a school. He was just kind of doing things because I felt like that's what he was expected of him to do, but it wasn't the right situation for him. It wasn't the right school. It wasn't the right fit. And I think he was wanting me to come up with some kind of different answer. Or like, like working hard and like persevering and stuff like that. And those are all great attributes. Like I talk about those all the time on my channel. Right. And sometimes you do need to just like work harder and get through a class. But reading through his and sometimes just having a conversation, with people, I can just tell like he wasn't in the right school. And even though he had a scholarship, like, and yes, I know scholarship is real money, but I mean, if you're just gonna be miserable with what you're doing and studying and learning, like, what's the point, right? It's like, what's that great quote? It's like having a mansion, living at a mansion all by yourself. Like, what's the point? Right. And I kind of feel like that's the idea. Like the students, like he's going through things, like it's a very prestigious college. I have no idea what it was, or university, right? He had a scholarship to it. So that's like an amazing, it's like, oh, everything's working out. Everything's going good. But it's like, it's just not the right fit. Or like, I'm just not very happy with it. I'm like, you know what? Get out, go do something else. Maybe you're in the wrong degree. Maybe it's just the school. I don't know. I think that's a little bit more soul searching you need to do, but I think it's really, really important for you guys to find out who you are, and what you want, rather than just trying to just going to college to, because that's what you think you want to do, or that's what people expect of you. Right. So, if you have those kind of like conversations in your head, sit down, give them time, let them talk, think through it, and make the best decision that you can for moving forward. Awesome. Sadie, I love it. Oh, that's not a good math question. You can submit that and I'll go take it. Is there an instance where you solve for X in calculus? Yeah, all the time. All right. And then the next one, let's go through a math question. And this one, guys, if you have math questions, go ahead and, I have another one. Okay, so if you do not want to submit a question to my link, then you can, so I can go and post it on the live stream. Then you could also go ahead and post that in the live stream. I'm sorry, in the Discord server. All right, so on a problem like this, there's a couple different ways we can do this, but what I would recommend doing is taking 4, like just kind of working this at 1 at a time. So log base 16 of 1/4. Okay, so what I would do is just kind of work through the exponent first. So how can we simplify this? So if I had log base 16 of 1/4. Now let's say I don't know what this answer is, right? We don't. We're trying to figure out. So let's call the answer x. So one thing you can do, a couple different ways to understand, but like just a very basic way is we can always write our logarithmic form into exponential form. So I can say 16 is equal to, 16 raised to the what power is equal to 1/4, right? That's what basically that logarithm is asking ourselves. Well, now that we have an equation written in that form, I can kind of rewrite things both with a base of 4, right? Because then I can use the 1-to-1 property. So I can say 4 to the x is equal to 4 to the 2x, right? So 4 to the 2x is equal to 4 to the negative first power. Now I can use the 1-to-1 property, and I can say 2x is equal to a negative 1, divide by 2, divide by 2. X is equal to a negative 1/2. And now I have a 4 raised to a negative 1/2, right? So now if that's a negative 1/2, I can go ahead and rewrite that as 4 to the positive 1/2 power, which is basically the same thing as the square root, right? Which is going to equal a 1/2. So there it is, like step by step by step by step by step. There was another question that student which was wanting me to get, which is basically like, I can't copy everything. I'm kind of running out of space here. But I will write down his equation and air off because he's always on. Not sure if he's on right now though. But basically, his question was saying, come on. All right. So let's go through his question. His question was x equals a t plus 1 and y equals a t squared. T squared minus 2t. Okay. And so his question, or basically it was like, find the direct algebraic relationship between x and y and determine whether a parametric equation determines y as a function of t. So what basically we want to do is what we call is eliminate the parameter. So we want to get rid of our variable t. So to get rid of our variable t, we need to go and find an expression that t is going to equal to. So typically, if we want to find y as a relation with x, we're going to want to solve for t in the x equation. Okay. So to do that, I'm going to subtract 1 on both sides, and I get an x minus 1 is equal to t. All right, now if I have t is equal to x minus 1, I can replace t over here with an x minus 1. So y is equal to a x minus 1 quantity squared minus 2 times x minus 1. Okay, now I just need to simplify this. Apply distributive property. Here I need to FOIL that. So y equals a x squared minus 2x plus 1 minus a 2x plus 2. Make sure you apply distributive property. Let's combine our like terms. So y is equal to a x squared minus a 4x plus 3. You can see that, yes, y is a function with respect to x, right? This is going to give us a quadratic function, okay? So it can be a function it can be a function of y with respect to x. And also notice that I eliminated the parameter. So you can see that is my relationship, it's not my algebraic relationship between x and y with no t. All right, I usually don't pick these up, but I just saw it, and you're the second person that's asked me about completing the square. So let's go ahead and do this problem. All right, so you're gonna believe it. Hey, RF, there you go. I was only able to do one of the equations, but for your other problem, you just do the exact same thing. You mean just square both sides on the x equation and then plug that in. That one was rather easy, so I did the more, I guess, a little bit more difficult one. But thank you for submitting. All right. So now let's go and complete the square. I think on this one, I'm just going to kind of go through the basics. I'm not going to do any ax plus bx plus c. All right, so let's just kind of go through the formula. So what I'll have here is a b divided by 2 quantity squared. Okay, so that's going to be 2 divided by 2 squared is equal to 1. All right, so recognize this is not a perfect square trinomial, right? Our goal, right? Our goal, like x squared plus, I don't know, 6x plus 9. This is called a perfect square trinomial. This can be factored into x plus 3 times x plus 3, which is an x plus 3 quantity squared. That is our goal. Okay, we want this. We want a perfect square trinomial. This is not a perfect square trinomial. So what we need to do is create a perfect square trinomial. How do we create a perfect square trinomial? We find the value c that makes a perfect square trinomial. Okay, now, so to find the value c that creates a perfect square trinomial, we're going to take b divided by 2. Come on. We're going to take b divided by 2. Oh, come on. B divided by 2 and square it. Okay, now watch what happens here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this x squared plus a 2x, and then I'm going to add the 1. Okay, now what that just did is that created a perfect square trinomial. I just created a perfect square trinomial. That's what that 1 does. So whenever you take b divided by 2 and square it, that creates the value that makes a perfect square trinomial with your first two terms. Now, don't forget, we have this 26 over here. Oh, come on. And don't forget, you just can't randomly add a 1 in an expression and keep it the same. If you're going to add a 1, then you also have to make sure you also subtract the 1. Okay? So now, this is a perfect square trinomial. This can be factored into a product of two binomials that are exactly the same. So what are those two binomials? Well, that's going to be an x plus 1 times x plus 1. Right? And then this is going to be plus 25. That can be factored down into an x plus 1 quantity squared plus a 25. Hello, Ms. McLogan. I'm a college freshman, and I got a C for calc. Okay, barely passed 2/3 exams, but I aced the last one. Awesome. And C is perfect. And C is a perfectly fine grade, or my parents would piss off. I have no idea what your parents are going to say, but I think it really depends on what you learned, right? If you feel comfortable with the material and you feel like you maybe could have done better, but you didn't, or whatever the case, but you feel like you understand and you have a good grasp, then cool. If you got a C and you kind of like barely got by with that C, and maybe you like had to do a whole bunch of extra work and you really don't know what's going on, that could be an issue. So I'm less concerned about the grade as I am about your understanding, right? And you know, that's just the way I see things. From there. So, all right, guys, I am going to sign off for tonight, but hopefully get rid of your fear of math. All of that is at the beginning. If you want to go ahead and rewatch it, if you are just joining now on live stream. Otherwise, guys, I will see you guys next week for another live stream at 9 p.m. Cheers.